Hey everyone. I don't know if anyone is even here yet. I don't think so, but if you can see me, definitely comment. Let me know you're here. In addition to doing my day job, I have been listening to what is essentially day one of the 𝗙𝗵𝗃 sentencing phase, which would essentially be day 4 of the 𝗙𝗵𝗃 trial overall. It was a very emotional day. It consisted of victim impact statements, the jury instructions, and then another great closing remarks by Lindsay Blake. 𝗙𝗵𝗃's attorney, John Pryor, chose not to offer any statements from any character witnesses or anything like that. He also chose not to offer a closing statement. I think he's pretty much accepted the fate, as it were. And so today we heard from victims and friends and relatives of the victims. We heard from all of Tammy Daybell's siblings. We heard from her father. We heard from 𝗂𝗏𝗃, who absolutely offered the most beautiful tribute to JJ and 𝗙𝗏 I've heard. We saw one of Lori's children, Kobe Ryan, speak, and that was quite moving. He had to stop between sentences to actually get the words out. It was. We also heard from. Hey, Julie, how are you? We also heard from. I'm sorry. It was just a very emotional day. It's hard to put it into words. This is the culmination of 5 years of deceit and awfulness. Basically, because these two people, Lori Vallow and 𝗙𝗵𝗃, wanted to be together, and they wanted to have money to be together, and they used religion, which can be a beautiful, wonderful thing if it's not twisted for evil. And they took religion and they twisted it for evil, and they used it to pollute the hearts and minds of others, and they got them to believe their sadistic beliefs, that people go dark, that people are not savable. And LDS at its heart is a Christian religion, and to say that a person is not redeemable is going against everything that I've ever been taught about Christ and the Christian religion. Just, I don't understand it. As most of you know, I was brought up a Christian, very fundamentalist Christian, and I did become an atheist for many years, and I have recently returned to faith. But if I'm redeemable, if I am redeemable after literally spurring the existence of God, then how can a 7-year-old autistic boy not be redeemable? How can a 17-year-old beautiful girl that was loved by so many and had so much life ahead of her not be redeemable? How can a woman my age, the mother of 5, who has been a loyal wife and mother, not be redeemable? So his whole religion is false. It's just false. And to think that he was able to hornswoggle people into believing that, but that shouldn't surprise me. I cover cults. I've got many videos on different cults. Hey, Susan, I've got many videos about cults and how they're able to bring people in and love bomb them and get them to believe things that they otherwise would not believe, and often death is the result. And this is no different than any other cult. We've seen it as far back as the People's Temple, as far back as Christian Longo and as far back as the Branch Davidians, even recently, 8 Passengers. That's a cult. That's a cult too. We've seen so many people, when religion is twisted It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And the fact that it's taken this long to get justice for these people, our system, I mean, I wanna still believe in our system, but it's hard sometimes, but I really feel that these jurors did a good job on the guilt phase, and now they are now deliberating on the, 41 different rules that kind of perpetrate around whether or not you can sentence somebody to death in the state of Idaho. Basically, they're trying to determine aggravating versus mitigating circumstances. So aggravating circumstances are something that would make somebody eligible for the death penalty, and the mitigating are the ones that would detract from that, and essentially say you need to uh thank you, Tiff Tiff, that you need to detract from that and not sentence them to death. But basically, there are a lot of aggravating circumstances that Judge Boyce read off in his reading of the rules, but basically, it's the death of a police officer, the murder of a police officer, the murder of another inmate. If you are an inmate, those two don't apply. But then there's more than one murder victim, definitely applies here. Were the murders particularly egregious and done in an egregious method, I say that applies here. I mean, we had Tammy was asphyxiated. JJ was asphyxiated. Tylee, from what we can tell, was probably asphyxiated and beaten. So that's what we're looking at. So yes, that's three mitigating circumstances right there. And then there's also, is this defendant a continued threat to society? And Lindsay Blake, in her closing statement, brought that home. That he is with his religious beliefs, he is a continued threat to society. So the jury has it. I don't know. They only deliberated about, I think, 7 or 8 hours in the guilt phase. I'm hoping that this will go quickly, but it has to be a unanimous decision. If there's even one holdout, he has to be sentenced to life in prison. So they don't have to agree on every aggravating circumstance. They just have to agree that there's at least one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. I haven't gone live in so long, so I'm really glad that some people actually care to join me. So thank you. But basically, that's what we're waiting on. I will continue to monitor the situation. I want to give a big shout out to some channels I've been watching, Hidden True Crime. They are wonderful. East Idaho News, Lawyer Lee, she is wonderful. If you haven't checked out her channel, go over there and check her out. And of course, 𝗟cie over at Difficult Research. She has been a great advocate she's actually a relative of JJ and Tylee. She has been a wonderful advocate and a wonderful friend to me, and has been great in helping me with my research and everything. And also another great true crime channel, True Crime with JB Gunner. He has not covered this particular trial, but if you just if you want to look at the Idaho 4 murders, he's the authority on that. Check him out. But basically, this has been heart-wrenching. I have never delved into a case like I have delved into this one. Most of my cases, I do a deep dive and I move on. This one captured my heart and my soul because I fell in love with the victims. They're just ordinary people that were trying to live their lives, and then they got caught up in this for no fault of their own. They got caught up in just being associated with the most terrible amount of people, terrible type of people. So that's where we are. The jury has it. I'm sorry. Yes, and everybody that's in the chat, victims' impact statements were heart-wrenching. I don't think there was one that I didn't tear up at, especially Kay Woodcock and Colby Ryan. When Kay was talking about JJ being premature, only born at just over 2 pounds, how he began to thrive and grow up, and her special times with him, and how they asked Charles and Lori to take him because they thought it was the best for him, and now this happens. I hope they do not blame themselves. Kay and Larry, if you're hearing this, this is in no way, shape your fault. You did what you thought was best. You had no idea what was going to happen. Lori, up to a certain point, I think, was a good mom, and then something happened to her. I don't know what happened. I mean, I can sit here and say that she was pulling the strings, Chad was pulling the strings. I think they were pulling the strings on each other. I think Chad was pretty much, can I just say it? I think Chad's pretty much a loser. He exalted himself as something higher up in a church, and they never yeah, Susan, I agree. Joe Ryan's sister, Tylee's aunt, paternal aunt, yeah, hers was heartbreaking. But I think he was just this loser that his wife had to support him, but he exalted himself as being this faithful Mormon man and with a business owner. Tammy ran the business. He worked as a gravedigger, nothing wrong with that. But he did, and then he didn't work for huge swaths of time. He was just a loser, and probably Tammy was over it. I mean, she may have said, "Oh yeah, I agree with you," blah blah blah, but then she was probably rolling her eyes, as I would if my wife came up with something as ridiculous as what Chad was spouting. And he was probably over it, and then he got Lori, who was this fun little, skinny, whatever, blonde Barbie wannabe, and was just all over him, and it got to his head, and he was willing to do anything for it. It's kind of like Meatloaf. I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. I wish there had been some limits here, but that's just kind of what they saw. He did see himself as a god. He saw himself as more than he was. And there's nothing wrong with having a good opinion of yourself, but let's keep it real, people. I will be doing a wrap-up stream once the sentence comes back, and I will keep you posted, even if it's just a real quick short. I'll let you know as soon as the sentence is back. What does everybody here think? I think they're going to give him the death penalty. I don't know how long it's going to take for that to actually happen, because he's going to have many, many appeals. I think the average wait time for the death penalty to actually be enacted is, I think, 10 years, which is wild, in my opinion. I'm kind of mixed on the death penalty. I think in a lot of cases it's warranted, but in some it's not. And then, of course, depending on the government to get it right is kind of scary. But I think in this case, if it does come back with the death penalty, they got it right. I really do. And I really think they're going to go for death. I could be totally wrong, but I think they're going to go for the death penalty. But then he's going to sit in a jail, a prison for about 10 years on death row while they fight along with his appeals, which is why I think Judge Boyce was so careful in ruling the way he did, because he didn't want to give any ammunition to them being able to get the results of the trial thrown out. Yeah, yes, Julie, I remember reading those books. They were interesting, to say the least. Yeah. I still have nightmares about some of the things I read in those books. Yeah, but Chad Daybell just had this huge. This is, guys. I'm so sorry. This is just a stream of consciousness. I had a lot in my mind and on my heart after sitting through this trial and doing all the research that I've done on this case. So I'm just up here babbling, and I appreciate you listening to me. So I won't babble too much longer. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining in here, but I will keep you posted as soon as a decision on the sentence comes out. And yeah, I'll be back soon, and I will do a wrap-up stream, hopefully with a special guest, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks, everybody. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful evening, a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you soon. Until next time, everyone. Keto and crime.